And if you're wondering what that noise is, that's me screaming like a little girl. Let's get him open. Oh, getting closer. He's too much turtle for my display stand. Having to freehand it. He comes with all kinds of awesome goodies, so let's get into it. Now, as for what is this guy missing, because he has all these new accessories, and this is probably going to be the answer, he only has 2 extra hands. And they are a pair, and you can see here they're just one's an open hand, and the other is a pointing hand, you know, pointing at the side on his pocket. And I think this is great because here's my current leftover hands from the other 2 I've opened so far. I don't have Donatello open yet. Only 2, and I have this big old pile of hands. I don't need more hands. Next we have his hat. So here we got a hole here for his bandana to come out of. It's a very rubbery plastic, very malleable. It comes with a slice of pizza, same as the other turtles. His 2 sides here. See here, they're lots of detail, lots of dirty detail, which is great to hide the imperfections and really just makes it look like a better display piece overall and gives it that used, worn look. A Jose Canseco bat, and lastly, a backpack. One thing to note here is that this is hollow on the inside. It's just a big piece of rubber, but it has lots of nice detail and painting on it. Give it a nice worn look. Looks very, very authentic, even though it is just a big pile of rubber. Then there's what you might call the main accessory for trench coat Raph, is his trench coat. Let's take a look at it. Undo it here just like normal. It's actually made with real buttons. It's white on the inside. One thing you may notice is this down here, this bit here is unstitched. And there was some disagreement on the Technodrome forums about what this was about. It turns out that's actually screen accurate and done on purpose. That is not a factory error. That's what he looks like on the inside if he was a flasher. Come around, you can see the back here. They have plenty of room to hide his shell. His arms can articulate while still within the trench coat just fine. It has the white lining going throughout. Now, if for some reason you'd want to remove it, I recommend positioning his arms up, reach for the sky, just like I tell my 3-year-old, and then you can peel it off. But I'm gonna scoot it back on. I don't want it off. You can, of course, slide his size down into his belt. This one over here in particular is really, really tight and feels like it's bending it, but this is a pretty light piece of plastic. It's not die cast and it's not super sturdy, so on one hand it's pliable, which lets it get in there, flex around, but it also feels like it's kind of fragile in a way, so I'd be careful of that. They both fit in there. One thing I've noticed is that he tends to hunch forward on this release. I mean, he stays up, but the second I mess with him, he wants to come forward really easily. He doesn't want to stand up too much. You got to kind of convince him to do it. Got him compared here next to Leo, and one thing you'll notice here is the gap. The knee pads are much larger on Raph here. Don't know that it means anything, and head-on, you don't really notice it either. But from that downward angle, you definitely see it. And even here, you can see a little bit more of the knee is showing. And then it was enough that I noticed it, whereas I never noticed it before on Leo or Mike, which are the other 2 I have open so far. Another thing I've noticed due to his desire to kind of be hunched over like that, as he was when I got him out of the box, is that his plastron here has a good bit of gap on there. It's kind of pushed forward compared to Leo where it's nice and tight. That doesn't happen. It might be a case where taking a heater to it might help it reshape back, but probably not worth the effort. He has all the same articulation as the other guys, and we'll go through some of it. You know, got a head, spin all the way around, get a little up, a little down. His arms come up and around, and they do that in the trench coat pretty well. Gets a little twisted up, not a big deal. Get the elbow to about there comfortably, and of course, out its typical wrist swivel. It is also on that hinge, just same as the rest. Kind of comes in a little bit, gets out. No waist swivel on these figures, as you know. For the leg, we're just going to have to get vertical here. Get the upper thigh twist out to there. And get forward quite a bit on a really tight ratchet. It might go another notch, but I really don't want to risk it. Gets back to about there, not much there. Knee gets up to about there. Feels like there's a second knee joint in there, but nope, just one huge knee joint. And then of course the foot. I assume just on a peg. Or it feels like there might be a peg swivel, I'm not sure, but you know, you can get the tilt out to there, forward and back, and then of course spin around. Ultimately, the articulation feels the same as on the other figures, where it's good that it's there, you can get some good arm poses, but leg-wise, they're just going to have to stand there. The figure's kind of too heavy and a little bit too unwieldy to get into real dynamic poses. You know, you can't get a crouching pose with him or anything of that nature. Get freehand here to look at the face sculpt, which is the main thing, the head sculpt that differs between all the figures. So we got his scar there, we got his eyes. You know, he gets his own unique facial dots. Of course, we got the cloth headband, same as the rest. In general, he has his own dot pattern on his arms and his shoulders, his spots, and then of course on his legs too. See the detail there on the plastron. And lest you think that his shield does not have the detail, sure it does. Bunch of scratches. He's seen a few fights. I tell you, my copy of this is just the saddest Raphael ever. He's just always depressed. I may contact Big Bad and see if I can get this exchange. The more I mess with it, the more annoying it is. At first I didn't think it was that big a deal, but maybe changing my mind. Anyways, let's talk about getting the backpack on. What I find is easiest is get his arms out in front of him, take the backpack upside down, slide it over his arms, work it all the way up so that the straps are up in his armpits, nice and good, and then fold it on over his head. There we go. See there how it looks when attached. It looks great. It looks just great. Thankfully, getting the head on is more straightforward. Just push his headband through there. Voila, it's on. You can kind of adjust it how you want. You know, it's just rubber. Final thoughts on this release. You know, it's definitely more of the same at its base level. I don't have the original raft to compare with. I got into the slime later, which served me well at this point. I do feel bad for the early adopters. You kind of always seem to get screwed when you're an early adopter in most things, and especially in toy collecting. It would be nice if they would release an accessory pack for the early adopters, but I don't know that it's going to happen. I think they really wanted to get the resale value out of this mold again. I'm a little disappointed in the leaning forward with the plastron thing, but probably plan on keeping the trench coat on him. It probably won't matter too much. We'll have to see how I feel about it and see if it seems to be a widespread problem or just my copy. The new accessories are great. The hat's great, the backpack's great, the Jose Canseco bat is great, even though it doesn't actually say Jose Canseco on it, I'd assume for trademark reasons or some such. But it all just comes together really nice and looks awesome. Looks like he walked off the screen. Absolutely love the tear that's on the trench coat now, and I love the drama that it caused on the forums. That was fun. So yeah, if you want this guy, you can get him at, I know at Big Bad, that's where I got mine. I'm sure you can find him on eBay. It was $100, you know, the typical price for these. Nothing really new about the figure itself, so the same problems that exist with the other ones exist with this one, in that, you know, posability is kind of limited. They're kind of not super stable, but the likeness is just dead on like always. Went ahead and opened Donatello real quick just to get this group shot of them together. They look awesome. You know, he does stick out a bit with the trench coat clothes, but it's still such an awesome accessory. I really do love it. Depending on how you display, maybe, you know, it's not really essential to have for your collection. Ultimately, I think it's a really cool release. I'm really glad I got it, and I'm glad I have all 4 of my turtles now. Looks awesome. Jose Canseco bat! Tell me you didn't pay good money for this.